I've been studying some things that are going on about China. We talked about health. We're getting 97% of our antibiotics from China. If they decide to turn that spigot off, we could be in a heck of a lot of trouble. We've got Chinese illegal immigrants coming across the border in record numbers, close to 30,000 in 2023. We've got them buying up farmland, coincidentally, around strategic military installations in the United States. I've got a map that is chilling. That's troublesome, is it not?
Very troublesome. And I've been fighting.
Why is this going on? Why is it being allowed?
The easiest explanation is always incompetence. And I think everything that we do with on the China side, it's deliberative, it's smart, it's rational, and everything that we do is just, it seems to me to be inept. I was down on the border, and I know you've been there. In Yuma, I watched between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., 300 immigrants come across the border, carried there on big white buses by the Sinaloa drug cartels. It just seems insane to have drug cartels running U.S. immigration policy. Is there some nefarious treachery to our country? You could certainly look at what's happening and say it has to be, or you could say it's just utter incompetence. But with China, we need to take the steps to diminish our vulnerability to China. Do I think that we should be looking for a war with China? No. I think that we need to de-escalate tensions with China and understand that China wants to compete with us. They want to dominate the world, but they don't want a hot war. We spend 3 to 4 times what China does on our military budget. And China relies on, Walmart. They rely on Mideastern oil, which we could cut off. They don't want a war with us, but they do want to compete with us, and I'm not scared of competing with them economically. We need to start projecting economic power abroad rather than military power.
Well, but it's hard for a corporation in America to compete with a government in China because they have forced labor. They don't worry about human rights. They have people working for 47 cents an hour in factories making gloves that we're buying for PPE. How do you compete when you have a free market corporation with minimum wage, human rights considerations, which all should be true, with a government that doesn't have those concerns?
Yeah, I think we need to have fair trade policies rather than free trade policies. Free trade is just a race to the bottom, and that's what, our government officials and trade negotiators have been doing for the past 30 years, is signing agreements that put American labor and American environment at risk and allow those governments to cheat. I don't think that we should do that anymore. When I'm president, we're going to stop doing that.
What are you going to do domestically with these people that are pushing DEI policies and this concept of equal outcome in place of a meritocracy that has made America what it is today?
I believe in equal opportunity, not equal outcome. I'm, against those to the extent that that's what those policies are advocating. I'm dead set against them.
And how do you get that into the mindsets of our university that's preparing the next generation to take over this country? We have universities, particularly our elite universities, that are failing to teach critical thinking and have students that are celebrating Hamas. I've seen and heard things on college campuses I never thought I'd see and hear in my lifetime. The anti-Semitic rhetoric. I've been to Israel. I've seen what took place there, and I see American students celebrating. At first, it was Palestinians, Gazans. That was a thin veil. Then it's just straight up Hamas. And I'm thinking, I can't believe my eyes. I can't believe my ears. And I've said so quite loudly. I'm wondering what they're teaching these kids if they don't have the ability to actually evaluate what's taking place. This was a murderous invasion. What do you do to change the university environment? And what do you do to try and get these universities to have some balance in what they're doing? There's a difference between free speech and actually intimidating Jewish students to the point of fearing for their lives and their safety.
There are so many things that I hear about, Israel being an apartheid state. There's ethnic cleansings taking place all over the Mideast, but people only complain about Israel. Palestinians have all the rights that Jews have. Palestinians can vote. They can serve they can serve in the Knesset. There's a dozen Palestinians in the Knesset. There's nothing like that in any of the other surrounding countries.
That's not apartheid.
This is the only democracy in the Mideast. It's the only place where there's freedom for gays. They hang gays in Gaza. They hang them in Tehran from cherry pickers. It's the only place where women have any rights in the Mideast. And it has freedom of expression. It has freedom of worship. It has freedom of the press.
Would you continue to support Israel?
Yeah, I think America needs to wind down military commitments abroad in terms of regime change wars, et cetera. Israel today is facing an existential crisis. Its actual existence is in doubt. And Israel is in a 5-front war. People say you should have a ceasefire with Hamas, and I would love to see that. Every death I see over there is heartbreaking. But how do you have a ceasefire? How do you have a negotiation with somebody who, in their charter, it says any negotiation with Israel is against Islamic law? I don't see how you do that. What we saw on October 7th came from a place of pure hatred and evil from people, from kids who were raised from when they're in kindergarten to utterly dehumanize Jews and to be sworn to believe that it's glorious to kill them. I understand that Israel doesn't feel that it can, that there's any ending here if Hamas is left in charge of Gaza. I don't see how you do it.
I sat with Prime Minister Netanyahu, and I came away from that with a clear understanding. He does not intend to stop until he has eliminated Hamas. He'll do it alone with the support of the world or not.
I'm not a huge fan of Prime Minister Netanyahu or the Likud, but that policy is widely supported.
How would you resolve the division in this country? What's the ticket?
Well, I said a little over a year ago, 13 months ago, when I announced that I was not going to feed into the vitriol and the anger and the hatred and the division. I was not going to focus on the culture war issues that are used to keep us all apart and at each other's throats. I was going to focus on the values that keep us all together, that we all share in common. And what I found is that those values occupy much greater landscape than the little culture war issues, abortion, guns, trans rights, the ones that we're all fighting about all the time. Everybody wants to fix our schools. Everybody wants teachers to be properly paid. Everybody wants to take care of our vets who are suffering from PTSD. And everybody wants to end the corrupt merger of state and corporate power. Nobody wants the border being run by the Sinaloa and drug cartels. Everybody wants to figure out a way that we can bring blockchain and AI into our country and make ourselves the hub where we can grow the economy out of this deficit. And nobody wants AI being used as a mechanism for the government to control us and to surveil us. Everybody wants to protect the environment. If you talk about clean air, clean water, wildlife conservation, our Purple Mountains majesty, everybody is going to be behind you. Republicans and Democrats, everybody wants clean food for our children, to get rid of all these chemicals. If you want to start a fist fight, just talk about climate and nothing else. And then you're going to have a war and you're not going to get anything done. But if you talk about, how do we reduce our dependence on foreign oil? How do we take care and mountaintop removal mining in the Appalachians? How do we stop the mercury contamination from coal burning power plants of our fish? Everybody wants that to happen, and they're willing, to fight for it. These issues are framed today in a way that is calculated to keep us at each other's throats. And it's like the jangling keys. It's BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard. They're now trying to buy housing, the residential housing, the agricultural lands. They're jangling the keys over here and say, look at the abortion issue, look at the guns, and look at trans rights. And over here, they're strip mining the wealth from the American middle class. are making it so our kids can't afford houses. We have the first generation of kids that's not going to own their own house. I'm going to change that.